certificate, then this would be a combination, which we'll talk about tomorrow or Thursday. So you have 20 people. So 20 is going to go in front. And then of those 20 people, only 3 people get a prize, right? So this would be a 20P3. In other words, there's 20 people that will finish the race first. 20 different people that could finish the race first. Then there's 19 people that could finish the race second. And then there's 18 people that could finish the race third. So it's 20 times 19 times 18, right? And that's what this formula says. It says this is the same thing as 20 factorial divided by 20 minus 3 factorial, which is 17. And why did I subtract? Because the formula has a subtraction in it. Take n minus r, right? So all this really is 20 times 19 times 18 which is 6,840 permutation of metals. So if you have 20 people in a race, and the first 3 get a different prize, there's almost 7,000 combinations for that to happen. How many different permutations of the letters in the word set are there? Now these don't have to actually create words, but you could have SET, right? You could have STE. You could have any others for set, SET, EST, or I'll do ETS. None of these spell words I know of besides set. What else? TSE, and then TES, right? And that's it, right? So we know the answer is 6. And why? Because you have 3 letters to pick from. Order does matter. If order didn't matter, then we could cross off, we could rearrange the letters in any order we wanted, which would be one combination. But 3, P, and how many letters are we picking? We're rearranging all the letters, so we're picking 3, right? So doing the math, this equals 3 factorial divided by 0 factorial. And 0 factorial is just 1, by the way. So it's really just 3 factorial, which is 3 times 2 times 1, which equals 6. When you're picking them all, you just use factorial. Does that make sense? When you're only picking a few, then I would use the P. So there are 6 permutations, and we listed them all out. What about how many permutations of the letters in the word Anna are there? Is there still 6? Well, let's list them out. A and A. Any others? AAN. NAA. Nah. Any others? That's it, right? So what do you do when you have duplicate items? When you have like multiple letters in a word, or you have multiple candy bars that are the same? You just take, you still do 3 factorial. But then you divide by each term that is repeated. So we have an A repeated twice, so we're going to divide by 2 factorial. If this was ANA, then we would divide by 3 factorial. Okay? So this means basically 3, because the 2 and the 1 cancel with the other 2 and the 1. So there are 3 combinations. 3 permutations. Does that make sense? And to correct something I said earlier, if this was ANAA, well then this would be a 4, because there's 4 letters. But then this would be 3 because you have 3 A's. Does that make sense? So Mississippi's a fun word. MISSISSIPPI. How many distinct means different, ways can the letters of the word Mississippi be arranged? Well, how many total letters are there? MISSISSIPPI. I think 11 letters. Using my fingers, I ran out of fingers. So the top number is going to be 11. And why is it not a permutation? Because we're going to pick all the letters. If we were picking fewer letters in Mississippi, then we would be doing like 11P8 or 11P7. Now let's divide out all the letters we have repeats of. Now thinking about Mississippi, we have how many M's? Just 1. How many I's? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have an S. How many S's? 4. Any other letters in this? Oh, P. We have how many P's? 2. So we need to divide out. We have 4 I's. That's what this is saying. You divide out every one you have multiple of. We need to divide out the 4 S's. And we need to divide out the 2 P's. Does that make sense? And technically you could say you have 1 M and put 1 factorial down here, but 1 factorial is just 1. So there's no purpose. Okay? Now, do you want to do this one by hand? Huh? I think I feel like just using the calculator on this one. So here I have 11 factorial divided by. Now, anytime you type something in parentheses or in a calculator and it's all together in denominator, you got to put it in parentheses. So there'll be 4 factorial, 4 factorial, and then 2 factorial. 34,650. Distinct ways. Does that make sense? By the way, if you're when do I use factorial? When do I use permutations? Well, factorial is the same thing as 11p11. Does that make sense? So if you wanted to write 11p11 instead, thing as 11 factorial. I don't use p when we use all the combinations. I just write factorial without the p. Does that make sense? All right, so that is permutations. Homework is on this next page. 3 word problems, some math to do with permutations. If you want to use a calculator, I really don't care. You're allowed to use a calculator on the ACT. Can you solve these? Now, I know you can use the calculator. I would do it 2 ways. One, I would solve it by hand to make sure you understand the formula, and then I would type it in the calculator to check my work. And remember, you're all under math, PRB, right? And then a few more word problems, like how many different ways can the letters of the word dash? Well, we just did a problem just like that, right? All right. We learned about solve permutation problems. Rate yourself 1, 2, 3, 4. And I excel. And permutations. They may introduce you to the D means combinations. P is permutations. When order matters. And this is when you don't care. Order doesn't matter. So if they ask you about the differences, that's what changes. If candy bars eating all in, then how many? Anyone know? Yeah, 5 candy bars. And I don't care what order you eat them in. How many combinations are there? So do you see it there? If you're like, you ate all 5 candy bars, who cares? Then you would say exactly what order you ate your candy. Then I would say, I believe it was 120 combinations. I should say permutations, right? So that's the difference between combinations and permutations. Okay? All right, and then homework. I already talked about it, but it'll be this one labeled permutations, and it'll be due tomorrow. All right, that's all I have. Good luck.